Hello, my loves. Welcome back to Medicine of the Soul. I have been in sort of like a hermit mode, I guess you can say, and I keep going through cycles like we all do, right? But ever since my phone filled up with memory, like literally, it's at 255, and I think my phone is 256 gigabytes. So, or is it megabytes? No, it's gigabyte. So, ever since that, I haven't been recording on my phone. I can do my Instagram reels, but for YouTube, it takes a lot more effort. And I feel like that is just reflective of the need to actually sit down and record. And it seems so easy to sit and record, right? But it's really not. It's really not. And thank you to my best friend for showing me that I could actually put my camera in the car and like record that way. So I might be doing that soon because we all love the car chronicles. Whew, okay, let's drop in for a second. Yeah. Where do I start? There is this huge transition happening, and I know it's not just me, but it is a collective thing. Things that were hidden are now coming to the front. You can't avoid it anymore. The things that you haven't wanted to see are now right in front of you. And it's up to you to decide to continue forward, to do something else. And a lot of times, being a pioneer, being innovative, doing something different means that not everyone can see your vision. Now let's sit with that for a second. If not everyone can see your vision, then doesn't that mean you have to believe in yourself enough to see that vision through? Ooh, that just hit me right now. And I bring this up because if something would have stopped Einstein, if something would have stopped Tesla, we wouldn't have electricity and we wouldn't have gotten energy, studied energy. And so let me break that down even further. In those times when those people were living and working on their work, they saw something that no one else could see. They knew in the depths of their being what they were meant to do, and so they continued doing it no matter what. And that seems like so easy, but think about how radical you had to be in order to bring those things to fruition in the here and now. You think that they had a party behind them saying, "Oh yeah, we see your vision. Oh yeah, we agree." Let's be real. 0%. Maybe like 2%, but it takes a lot of courage to believe in yourself enough to bring these things to life. And I'm not saying you're going to develop some new electricity principle or new energetic principle. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. But what is something that you're so passionate about? And I'm getting an itchy nose right now. Usually that means there's something there. So, what is it that you are so passionate about and so you just don't mind exploring even more? And I'm going to say it that way because exploring means that you're curious about it. And when you're curious about something, you don't care about being new, right? If you're curious about something, you ask stupid questions. If you're curious about something, you go and find the answers. You are the researcher. You are the investigator. And you don't mind being those things because you like it. So if you're in that moment where you're like, dang, I think I really want to pivot my life, but I don't know what that means. Or I don't know why, but I'm just not feeling fulfilled right now. Take a breath, take a moment before you make any decisions, and ask yourself and sit with yourself. Doesn't matter if it takes days, hours, months, years, but ask yourself, what am I curious about? And then follow that curiosity, because the worst that can happen is that you decide to drop it off. You decide to do something else. And if you are a manifesting generator, then that's usually what happens. You pivot. You're meant to pivot. And so this video is about, what is it about? Because I feel like I touched on a lot of things. It's about you. It's about you being in a moment in time, in your now moment, where you feel a little lost. You know that what you're doing isn't quite right. You know that you're good at what you're doing, how you're doing it, how you're living, maybe how you earn money. You fill in those blanks. You feel good about that, but you don't feel amazing about that. You know that there's a spot deep within you. And it could be just a grain of sand spot. It does not have to be some big old gaping hole in your being. But you have a sense that you're really not living up to the way that you wish you were. That there is something in you that wants to explore something further. And life circumstance may not give you that luxury. But how much of that is you deciding that life circumstance is keeping you there versus you choosing to stay there because you're too afraid to do something different? And there is no right or wrong answer here. Doing something different means being a leader. And I'm reading a book right now. I knew this was going to tie in at some point. It makes sense now. I'm reading a book right now about being a leader when you actually aren't chosen as the leader. And what do I mean by that? I mean that just because you are a CEO, just because you are a VP, a manager, a project manager, just a worker, just because you have a position of power doesn't mean that you are a leader. And the reverse is true. Just because you are a lower employee doesn't mean that you aren't a leader. Being a leader is an energy. Being a leader is how do we lead without needing the title? How do we lead with or without people behind us believing in us? That's what a pioneer is, right? Almost nobody believes in them, and yet they still move forward. So let me give you maybe a personal life example of being a leader in my own life. It's a little uncomfortable for me, so just give me a second. Okay. Being a leader in my life meant letting go of the victim mentality. Letting go of, why am I in this moment? Why am I connecting with this person? Everything is happening to me, and I don't know how to get out of it, so I'm just going to stick with it. Several years ago, I made the hard choice, and I decided to let all of that poo go. And I'm going to say poo because now that I'm on the other side of it, it really was me keeping myself in those things, feeling those things, because that is the way to make what's going on okay. When you tell yourself that you're the victim, You blame everybody else and you don't hold yourself accountable. Because the minute you hold yourself accountable is the very minute that you realize your life is the way that you built it. Nobody else. You. And so being a leader is making those hard choices and sticking with them and seeing where they go. That's being a leader. And sometimes they work out and other times they don't. Other times crap really hits the fan. And I've had that multiple times in my life. I really have. I have connected with people that I thought were amazing, and it turns out they were the complete opposite. And it was me who was amazing. And for a short time, those connections were great. But in the long term, in the way that I live my life and choose to lead my life, it wasn't gonna work. Friendships, romantic relationships, and family ships, workplaces, all of those relationships. And so the point of this video is medicine of the soul. It's realizing that you are the medicine. It's realizing that you have to choose yourself over everybody else because no one's going to do that for you. In fact, they'll treat you the way you treat yourself. So, look around your life and start to take note of where you're the leader, where you lead yourself, and where you let others. And honestly, some of those others, do you really want them to lead your life? Like, really? Do you really want them to lead your life? I'm going to think no, you really don't. Because I'm sitting here thinking about how, like, I used to care about celebrities. I used to care about what people thought of me. And it's not like I don't care about what people think. Sometimes I do, if I really value that person. And I value everybody, but at the same time, some people I just don't care what they think about me. But that's for another day. But I just think about how I used to really put my value in what others saw about me, what their perception was of me. And when I think about that, I just want to hug that version of me because that girl, that woman, she was living for everyone else and she wasn't living for herself. And so that's the message. I hope you found something there. Bye, guys.